Now, why are we suddenly experiencing back-to-back earthquakes?
To answer that and more, we have Jeffrey Perez, Supervising Science Research Specialist at FIVOX.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Magandang umaga po.
Alright, let's get right to it. Of course, madaming agam-agam mga kapatid natin about these earthquakes. What causes these series of earthquakes? Are they linked to each other?
Okay, basically po, the Philippines is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire.
Right.
So we are seismically active country. Without these events, FIVOX was recording an average of 30 earthquakes every day. So araw-araw may nare-record tayong earthquakes. At least 30 earthquakes are being recorded. Yun nga lang at least past 2 weeks, nagkasabay-sabay lang yung mga magkakasunod na earthquakes. And the sources of these earthquakes are not related to each other. For example, the Cebu earthquake during September 13, the source was the Bogo Bay Fault. In Davao Oriental, we have the Philippine Trench. And then there are earthquakes in Zambales that was generated by the Manila Trench. Yung sa La Union, it was generated by one of the segments of the Philippine Fault. So within the Philippine archipelago, we have several sources of earthquakes, and sometimes these faults may move, and kung minsan sabay-sabay silang gumagalaw.
Well, we understand naman madami talagang earthquakes on a daily basis, no? Ang question is there a reason kung bakit itong mga earthquake na ito ay medyong malalakas na siya to a point na napapansin na kasi ng tao. Yung mga ibang earthquakes, I understand kasi before, mga nasa 3 or 4 lang sa intensity. Pero ngayon, tumataas eh.
Yes, one reason is yung mga construction practices natin, and then there was an increase in awareness of people. For example, during the Saturday's event in Zambales, it was felt here in Manila at intensity 2 to intensity 3. If that happened 10 years or 15 years ago, posibleng hindi natin papansinin yan sa Metro Manila. But because of the increase in awareness of people, and then we have now the high-rise buildings, mas nararamdaman natin yung mga maliliit na mga earthquakes.
Right.
So, yun yung one of the reasons for that.
Okay, the fault po system that you mentioned earlier, ito po ba ay mga talagang binabantayan na natin, na monitor na natin prior pa dito sa paglindol nila recently?
Yes po. We have been conducting field mapping, we have done paleo-seismic trenching, and for the whole Philippines, we have more than 130 or 120 seismographs. And these seismographs are sensitive enough to measure earthquakes na magnitude 1, and even earthquakes coming from other countries. Our seismographs can detect these earthquakes. So, binabantayan po natin ito, and lahat po ng mga active faults, earthquake sources in the Philippines, we put that in our website. Nandun po yung mga mapa. We also have the Fault Finder and the Hazard Hunter application by DOST FIVOX.
So, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. There's a new fault that was discovered in Cebu. It's called, if I'm not mistaken, Bogo Fault Line. Tama po ba? And perhaps you can enlighten us po ano pong nangyari doon. Was this the epicenter of the...
The source of that earthquake was the Bogo Bay Fault. As a geologist, as a fault finder, we all knew that there's a fault on that area. But because of the geology, yung tipo ng bato na nandoon, like limestones, it is very easy to dissolve these limestones. And as a field mapper, it is very difficult to point on the ground kung nasaan yung trace ng fault. But we all knew that there's a lineament on that area, but we don't have the capacity during that time to identify the fault on the surface, kasi nga po yung tipo ng bato doon, yung type of rocks is not so good na mamamapan namin siya. Madali po kasing malusaw itong mga limestone na to.
And para klaro lang tayo, no, itong mga sunod-sunod na earthquake na nababalitaan natin sa news these last few weeks, they cannot trigger each other or trigger further earthquakes down the line. Siyempre, ang daming lalabas online, and we want things to be clear. these are, what you're saying is normal occurrences.
Yes, these are normal occurrences unless na yung katabi niyang fault yung gagalaw. For
Yeah.
example, during the event in Davao Oriental, days after, there's another earthquake na halos kasing laki or kasing magnitude ng first na 7.4. So we call these earthquakes as a doublet earthquake. There are also instances like what happened during the 2019 Cotabato Davao del Sur earthquakes, wherein there was 4 magnitude 6 earthquakes. Ang cause naman po nito is yung mga parallel faults at least 5 to 10 kilometers apart na ang nangyari is a stress transfer. So itong mga activity na to ng mga active faults ay pinag-aaralan din po ng FIVOC. So we will inform the people if there will be some stress changes na nangyari because of these past events.
At least, diretso na kita, Jerry. The reason why I'm asking you all of this is, of course, we're very weary of yung, yung West
one.
Valley Fault, no? Which is the big one. Now, are itong mga fault na recently na gumalaw or that were triggered by each other, do you see any parallel faults that may, I'm not saying it will, that may possibly in the future affect the West Valley Fault?
Medyo malayo po. Medyo
Okay.
malayo gumalaw sa Davao, sa Cebu
Oo
to affect the West Valley Fault. But we all knew that this West Valley Fault has been mapped by FIVOC thoroughly, and we have already informed communities living along the fault. So dapat po ay patuloy yung pag-prepare ng mga kababayan natin. Not only for the Metro Manila area, if that West Valley Fault will move, it will also affect provinces around Metro Manila like Cavite, Laguna, Bulacan, and Rizal. Metro Manila, together with these 4 provinces, may experience intensity 8 if the West Valley Fault will move.
Pero officially, yung West Valley Fault is due, supposedly, it's ripe already, but kailan ba talaga dapat siyang na-expect na gumalaw?
Well, based on our paleoseismic studies, this earthquake is, this West Valley Fault or the Valley Fault system is moving at least every 400 to 600 years. So merong malalakas na earthquakes na nangyayari approximately every 400 to 600 years. And the last earthquake attributed to the Valley Fault was 1658.
Okay.
So lumalapit tayo dun sa boundary ng
Kumbaga,
400.
humihinog na. Tama ba?
Well, yes, gagamitin natin yung term na hinog na. So for the past 350 plus years, this fault is not moving. So ibig sabihin nag-iipon na siya ng lakas for that big one na sana ay wag mangyari in our generation.
Right. But I was wondering, sir, which areas in the Philippines pa should we watch as potentially more active in the next few years?
Well, as we all know, the Philippines is surrounded by different sources of earthquakes. Like sa eastern side ng Philippines, we have the East Luzon Trough and the Philippine Trench nasa dagat. On the western side, we have the Manila Trench, Negros Sulu Trench, and Cotabato Trench. These trenches na nakapaligid sa Pilipinas will not only shake the nearby provinces, but it may also generate a tsunami. And within the Philippine archipelago, we have several active faults. The longest of which is the Philippine Fault. The Philippine Fault traverses from northern Luzon to eastern Mindanao. So yung fault na to is more than 1,300 kilometers from Ilocos region going to Mati City in eastern Mindanao. Ang kagandahan lang about this fault will not move one time. It will move segment by segment. So we have mapped several segments of this Philippine fault. Like for example, during the 1990 Luzon earthquake, yung Baguio earthquake, one segment of the Philippine fault moved, yung Digdig segment. And that earthquake, that fault generated a magnitude 7.8. But these other segments may also move. We also have active faults in Mindoro, in Panay Island, and we also have active faults in Mindanao, in the eastern and western side
Dami,
of
oo.
Mindanao
Sa,
Island.
yeah, buti you mentioned those other faults, no? Sa dami ng, kasi nakatutok lahat halos sa West Valley Fault, no? Pero what other fault lines should we be concerned about aside from yung West Valley Fault?
Yes, yun nga, yun sinabi ko kanina. Medyo, yun nga, ang concern ng mga tao is the big one for Metro Manila. But the big one is not only in Metro Manila. Big one is kino-correlate natin siya sa Metro Manila because of the movement of the West Valley Fault. But if we take a look at the active faults map of the Philippines, every region and every province of the Philippines have their own big one. They have their own earthquake scenarios na kailangan nilang paghandaan. Like for example, sa may Central Luzon, we have the different segments of the Philippine Fault, like the Gabaldon segment, the San Jose segment, and then the Digdig segment na huling gumalaw noong 1990 earthquake. If we go to Visayas, we have the faults in Samar Island, we have faults in Leyte, and we also have faults in Negros Island. So, almost every island in the Philippines may mga sources ng earthquake.
Right. Then, while we understand na wala pa tayo talagang equipment para ma-detect or ma-predict nga yung future earthquake, I was wondering how prepared are we in PHIVOLCS in terms of earthquake monitoring systems?
So, just like what I said a while ago, we have installed more than 120 seismic stations, and these 120 seismic stations will be expanded through the PHIVOLCS modernization law. So from 120, we are expecting na maging 300 siya the next 5 years so that we can monitor more accurately, more faster itong mga pagkakaroon ng earthquakes. In terms of our mapping of geohazards, yung mga active faults maps natin, mga ground shaking hazard maps, we are also continuing this mapping activities ng PHIVOLCS. Plus, we also have lots of activities informing our stakeholders, different stakeholders. We have a specific lecture series for our DepEd teachers. We also have information campaign with our media partners para it's a holistic approach. It's an activity na dapat lahat ng tao. Sabi ko nga, dapat hindi lang ang nagpe-prepare ay yung mga estudyanteng nasa eskwelahan. Sana every family, every community, dapat ngayon pa lang ay nagpe-prepare sila.
Jeffrey, yung kasi 'di ba yung linabas rin ng quadrants pag nagkaroon ng the big one, no? There are certain quadrants. A lot of people are asking, bakit may mga quadrants? Do you expect if the big one does happen, will the cities be divided physically in such a way na because of accessibility, yung may mga roads ba nakikita nyo na baka lumaki ang bitak temporarily, baka hindi madaanan, or mag-iiba yung hulma ng mapa?
Well, nung ginawa kasi yung MMIR study, yung Metro Manila Earthquake Impact Reduction Study, we have identified na may mga bridges na posibleng masira kapag nagkaroon ng malakas na earthquake sa Metro Manila. That is the reason why yung DPWH, if you have heard yung mga past news nila, they are rehabilitating these bridges, yung mga bridges na dumadaan sa Pasig River. And sabi nga, di ba, ang next na i-renovate nila ay yung Guadalupe Bridge, which is a very important access. So, nung ginawa yung pag-aaral na yon, na-identify na posibleng may masirang mga bridges, there could also be mga sunog, mga fires, and then posible ring magkaroon ng isolation because of the collapse of these mga buildings. So nakikita din po yan. So in terms of our contingency plan, para lang mas madaling ma-manage yung in terms of response pagdating sa Metro Manila, MMDA together with the Office of Civil Defense, they have this Oplan Yakal Plus na kanilang gagawin kung sakaling magkaroon ng contingency plan. So, yung contingency plan na to is not only written on the books. Sometimes, nagkakaroon din ng mga simulation, mga drills, so that magkakaroon ng idea yung ating mga responders kung ano yung gagawin nila. Hindi lang yung responders from Metro Manila, they also have contingency plans na yung mga kalapit na regions natin like Region 1, Region 5, or even Region 2, pati yung mga regions sa Mindanao, they will also help Metro Manila in case na magkaroon tayo ng malakas na lindol dito. So nakaplano itong mga strategies na to.
Right. And I want to go back lang doon saglit, sir, doon sa Mindanao and Cebu earthquake. If I'm not mistaken, last week ang Cebu nakapagtala na ng 10,000 plus aftershocks. Dito po ba sa Mindanao, hanggang kailan po nila mararamdaman yung mga aftershocks pa?
Okay, let's discuss first kung ano yung aftershocks. Ang aftershocks ay para siyang, for example, yung mga bato sa ilalim, para siyang rubber band. Na habang ini-stretch natin yung rubber band, na mapipigtas siya, so that's the main shock. And then mapapansin natin yung rubber band, magsishake pa siya, kahit na nag-snap na siya. Yung pag-shake ng rubber band na yon, yung pag-vibrate na yon, that's the aftershocks. So, ang nangyayari ngayon, yung mga bato sa ilalim, because of the main shock, ay naging unstable, and hanggang ngayon, hanggang sa magkaroon ng stable state na sila, doon natin mararanasan yung mga aftershocks. These aftershocks may last weeks, up to months, during the 2013 Bohol earthquake. Kung maalala natin ay nagkaroon, nararamdaman pa rin nila yung mga aftershocks 6 months after the main shock. So, we should expect na may mga aftershocks. Posibleng yung mga aftershocks ay mas mababa na kaysa doon sa main shock. Our rule of thumb is the aftershocks is just, the highest aftershock could be 1 degree lower than the main shock. So, for example, for the Cebu earthquake, which has a magnitude 6.9, ang posibleng pinakamalakas na aftershocks was 5.9. And kaninang alas 2 ng madaling araw, nagkaroon ng 5.8. So hopefully that's the largest aftershock now in Cebu.
All right. Thank you for that. Jeffrey Perez, Supervising Science Research Specialist at FIVOX.
Maraming salamat po.